I'm the person who, if I bring pads, like I'll always like suss out the space. Like, you know, obviously you bring like a pair to change with, whatever. I'll suss out like who's around me, take one, quickly throw it in my pocket, and then like quickly rush to the bathroom. It's weird. I'm a whole 27-year-old woman, and I still feel like I'm a 13-year-old little girl who just started their period. What's weirdly enough, I don't actually remember the first time, I think. When was it? It was strange because in primary school, like how old was I? So in grade 7 was what, 2003, I was 12 years old. And 12, 11, 10, in grade 5, there was this girl who got her period, like, you know, and she was like 10, 11 years old. I literally was shook. I didn't see anything, but I was just like, what is going on? And then you fast forward to where I'm at now, and I'm just like, looking back on that stuff, I'm like, it was the weirdest thing because not knowing what's happening to your body, and then you go home knowing this information, almost like this secret information. There's nothing you can do about it because then you're too scared to ask your parents about, like, oh my goodness, like, mama, my period, like, what's going on, da, 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 da. And then I remember, I think I got my period when I went to the Makayas in December of 2003. And I literally seeing blood come out of that part of my body was the most, I don't know, gut drop pain feeling in the world, because I was just like, what is going on? And then it clicked. It was like, oh, that thing is happening. Went to my mom and I was like, oh, Ma, this is happening. She literally was like, cool, like, because obviously she knew what to do, and not that it was almost like she was waiting for this moment to happen, but like she kind of just scrambled, got her stuff sorted, told me what to do, put this on your panties, and everything popped off, and it was cool. Later that evening, I got period pains, and at the time I didn't know. I thought it was stomach cramps. I wanted to cry. It was the most painful thing, and even now in my adult life, like even getting my period, my pains go down my legs to my feet. It's a very crippling feeling. So what did I think? I felt like it was a whole trash experience. But it's only with age that I come to understand what was actually going on with my body. I just think that it's like, it's just one of those things that, because of it being treated as like this hush-hush conversation that should never really be had, it's a conversation between you and your mom when it has happened, and even then it's like this hush-hush conversation. It's not something that is celebrated, so half of the time you kind of feel guilty when it's happening to you, but it's like a natural process that's supposed to happen to your body. So my biggest issue also comes down to whenever I interact with men or boys or whatever, when I'm like, I'm on my period, or oh, please can you go fetch me a pad? Then they go like, and I'm just like, my guy, first of all, fetching the pad that is clean, it's not going to do anything to you. So I never really understood like what that whole thing was about. So I think that the stigma around it has just also been centered just around how back in the day it was perceived to be a dirty thing that's happening to you. So I don't know that those things have gone away from society, or at the very least, it's such an ingrained thing in us mentally and like emotionally and physically that like I said, you feel guilty when you're on your period, but it's your body doing, it's nature's source, nature's cause, nature's things, like you can't control it. So I definitely think that there's just not enough positive conversations around what it is, what it means. And when you think about it, I just, all the conversations around what's physically actually happening to your body, like in the inverse, let's say if you are to fall pregnant, like in a good time in your life, even in times where we're not necessarily sure about it or whatever, it's one of those physical things that like is a sign of something good is happening to your body type of thing. But even just saying it now makes me feel weird because I've never really associated menstruation with a positive or a good thing. So it's a very weird one because I think I'm also still in the process of learning. I'm still that person who hides things under my kwapa. Like if I buy a pack of pads or tampons, I don't buy tampons because I don't like tampons. I'm still that person. So I think I also play into the stigma a little bit. I'm the person who puts pads and things under my like my papa when I buy it at the shop. I'm the person who, if I bring pads, like I'll always like suss out the space. Like, you know, obviously you bring like a pair to change with, whatever. I'll suss out like who's around me, take one, quickly throw it in my pocket, and then like quickly rush to the bathroom. It's weird. I'm a whole 27-year-old woman and I still feel like I'm a 13-year-old little girl who just started their period. Don't even get me started on when I leaked for the first time. The anxiety and the pain of any time. I have not run away from that feeling ever. Like, I still constantly feel like, oh my goodness, I'm showing. Oh my God, I've leaked. Oh my God. Like, I feel the most uncomfortable when I'm on my period. I feel anxious. Walking past people gives me so much anxiety. Because like, it'll be the weirdest thing. Like, I'll walk past a group of people. This is very, very stupid. It's not stupid because some people go through it or whatever. I mean, I go through it or whatever. But if you don't, praise to you. But I've experienced like you walk past people and then or about a group of girls and they start laughing. The first thing I think about, I'm like, Zalwan is laughing at me because I've leaked. Meanwhile, I haven't even leaked. Anytime I get up from a chair, especially if I've been sitting for a long time, I'm always like, oh, let me just check quickly. What if I've leaked? Like, it's just it's the weirdest feeling. How to address it or eliminate that anxiety? Please leave a comment in the comment section below and holler at your girl, because getting out sees or because I don't know. I don't know how would you? Again, I think going back to that whole question, like, if there were more positive conversations about what is going on with my body, I would feel differently. And so I think that it's such an ingrained feeling from, you know, ignorant conversations that you have in primary school and stuff like that, that I do feel that, yeah, no, what you think you thought is not what's actually going on. And so ignorant chats with ignorant peeps, because is it ignorant or is it like when you're young, like immature chats basically. Maybe ignorant wasn't the word, I don't know. Anyway, like those immature conversations where you guys are giving, like the blind leading the blind, like you're all giving each other advice when you guys don't even know what's going on when you're little. So I feel like a lot of those things have really kind of stuck with me, even when I've learned the new information and the right information. But I think it's like, it's such an ingrained physical, mental feeling that sometimes I don't even think about. I just see myself acting a certain way. It's like, girl, come on, it's Wednesday, get over it. So it's a weird one. How to eliminate it, I actually don't know. So I'll leave that to the ones that do know. I think that sex ed should definitely encompass the physical, emotional, and mental piece to it. And I think the responsibility that comes with having sex. And I think it's good and fine to be young and wanting to experiment and have a good time and like all of these cute and wonderful things where you can make mistakes and you can think you can fix it tomorrow. But I think when you're young, you really do need guidance. Again, like ingraining positive relationships about your body. There's a lot that comes with having sex, and there's not enough conversations just around us as women having the positive relationship with yourself. Like I remember my friends and I were even talking about things around like masturbation and things like that. And like you can tell the sense of uncomfortability around the conversation because we don't have the conversations. So I think a lot of it, even in those environments, I understand that a lot of the people who are doing the teaching are very traditional in their ways of wanting to teach and what type of information they want to impart on young people. But I think that it's very important for people to really get a sense of, as in a mental sense, and I don't know what that education looks like, because outside of the abstinence and outside of the contraceptive piece, there's an emotional piece that comes with it as well. So where does that fit in, and how do you, like, what is the purpose of life orientation? Like, what does that supposed to do? And I feel like sex ed in life orientation is supposed to orientate us when it comes to those things. How am I supposed to take care of my body? When I am, keen to actually, when I'm curious, like in a way where I want to be safe, but now you don't want to feel guilty about it. Like, you feel certain things and then it's just like, keep quiet about it, like be hush hush. You wait for a guy to hit on you before you want to make the first move. Like, how about you making the first move? Like things like that. Like, you know, I know that education sometimes doesn't feel like it has room or space to do those things because it has to be very literal and like textbook worthy and but I'm just like, sometimes sex is not a factual, like a step by step black and white. It's not black and white. There's so many gray areas. I feel like my answer is in shambles, but we'll piece it together. Sexual liberation, I think, is learning to love the physical aspect of all the things that come with, I guess, sex, in terms of, like, if you watch a movie and you feel aroused or whatever, like, not feeling guilty about that feeling. It's a natural thing that is happening to you. Your body is curious, you are curious. It's nature's way of saying, hey girl, you feel something. Sexual liberation, I think, is, you know, how I present myself in terms of the way I dress even. Like, I remember when I was younger, like, I was definitely a lot more, you know, open to wearing cleavage things and sing. I was like, I love Rihanna and the way that Rihanna dresses, and like, I think that she's sexually liberated, especially from like the way that she presents herself, because it's just like, I love who I am, I love the skin I'm in, I want to show it off, not in a provocative, like I'm trying to be crazy, but like I love myself enough to be this person, and to just be sexy. Like sexiness is a concept that I don't even think that I've mentally packaged in my head. I don't even know what it means to be sexy, in the sense that, like, you know, like when you look at yourself in the mirror and just be like, yes, but to carry that throughout the whole day, where you're just like not sure what you look like. And I feel like that's also like a part of almost like the foreplay with yourself in your mind, of like just loving yourself, loving the way that you look. And sexual education, again, I guess this is just more of a question then, because I think if we are to bring the reality closer to it at the end of the day, like, you know, young people are faced with, you see a guy or a woman, depending on obviously what your sexual preference is, and you're interested, you're keen beyond just talking and getting to know them. So for me, the question just comes down to, is that supposed to be life that teaches you how to respond to those things, or does education play a role there? So I'm asking a question for a question, and I might be asking the same question to the question, but like, it's just easier said than done, I think. And I just feel that sexual education, including menstrual health education, has a role in terms of it going above and beyond the boundaries that are limited to textbook worthy education. Like, there's some, even if it's a matter of bringing in mentors, or, you know, for girls, like bringing in older women, not older women, established women, or just women in general, whatever, your everyday women, who can come in and share their experiences, and young people can just connect and just be like, oh my gosh, I felt that thing when I saw that thing, or when I did this thing, or when I read about this book, or when I watched that movie, or when I saw a clip on Twitter, on Instagram. Like, social media is inundated with sexualized content, and people feel certain things about seeing stuff like that, even if it may be a negative feeling, but like, there are no conversations, I've been little to none. I have not been exposed to enough conversations that have brought, what do those feelings mean to the upfront? Like in high school, primary school, that was not the conversations I was having in terms of like at school. But when we go out, after school is after school, we are having the chats. But again, it is young chats. It's immature young girls who think they know when they don't know. And so the conversations I've had now with my older cousins, like, you sit there and you're like, wow, where were you when I was younger? Or rather, like, why didn't I feel comfortable enough to have these conversations with you? Wow, the knowledge, the information, because, you know, experience, time in life comes with, you know, brings experience and things like that. So I've went around in a circle, but I've come to a point and figured out. I think I've mentioned these immature chats throughout now, and to be honest, I've genuinely loved those chats the most, because it's just been a time where we're able to almost like put our guard rails down, and like all levels of embarrassment, anxiety, anything like that, and just have the real conversations. I was just like, dude, can you ever? I went on a date, this guy said this, what the hell? Or, babes, I leaked at work today. Or, I'm stuck in a bathroom, girl, and I'm leaking, please come fetch me. What did you, like just talking about the memories of those things, and then like everyone's like, no, when I leaked, when this happened, and like just basically knowing that it's normal. Like I think these conversations that I've had with my friends, we all come together and just like either laugh about some stuff that we used to be embarrassed about, talking about or thinking about, has always kind of like allowed me to be like, it's normal, you're normal, it's okay. Like even the work that we did with the breast, like also I was confronted with a lot of things. Like I felt like I was a 13, 14, 15-year-old again, because I was confronted with like all these questions and elements of my body that I've never been able to say out loud. And so when you kind of are able to sit amongst your friends and it's like girl time, girl talk, and you're just chilling and watching movies and popcorn and just going through all the memories of it all. And now in my adult life, it's so much more dynamic, because now it's about how much more I'm getting paid or how much less I'm getting paid in comparison to men. Or how am I going to grow in this company? Like, is there room for me as a black female to grow in this company? Like, what do we do? Like, how do I, really define who I am? What is my identity in this phase of my life? How do I strive? Like, the conversations literally just get better and better and better. Because, and not just that immature conversations are not valid. I just mean as in, just when you don't really have an idea and all you're working off of is just, hearsay and just like experience that you heard here and there, and then some of the bits and pieces that and then like it's just, in as much as those were innocent conversations, I think a lot of those conversations definitely were like a cushion and was like a comfort space for me, because it made me like, to an extent, normalize the fact that I'm a woman and I go through these things. So that one experience when I did leak now seems stupid that I was freaking out about it, because now that I'm with my friends, it's just like, babes, we've all leaked, and then what? Nothing special. You're not special. We've all leaked. So I think it's just one of those things that's super, super weird, but to navigate that is in terms of like dealing with being a woman and like how it's so different when you're like a girl, and like the different stages and phases when you're like a tween and then a teen and then a young adult and now a young working adult. And so I think navigating these two worlds I mentioned like the 5 worlds has definitely been interesting, and it's also been interesting to look back at myself and to be like, oh babes, suka good. Yeah, it's beautiful really. I'm done. I was just fucking around.